The U.S. manufacturing sector just logged its seventh straight month of contraction. For an economy that prides itself on industrial strength, that's a big warning sign. While Wall Street is hitting record highs and business investment looks strong in some areas, manufacturing tells a different story. One of declining demand, shrinking orders, and cautious producers. So, what does 7 months of contraction really mean for businesses, workers, and the broader economy? Let's start with the basics. The key measure here comes from the Institute for Supply Management, or ISM. Their monthly index surveys manufacturers on new orders, production, employment, and supplier deliveries. A reading above 50 means expansion, below 50 means contraction. And for 7 straight months now, the index has stayed under that threshold. This streak tells us that factories are producing less, orders are slowing, and manufacturers are more cautious about the future. But the story goes deeper than the numbers. One major factor driving this downturn is weak consumer demand for goods. During the pandemic years, households loaded up on furniture, electronics, and cars. Now, many of those purchases have already been made, and with confidence falling and prices still high, consumers are shifting spending back towards services, things like travel, dining, and entertainment. That leaves manufacturers with fewer new orders to fill. Another factor is global trade. With tariffs expanding in 2025, supply chains are being disrupted again. Inputs like parts, metals, and chemicals are getting more expensive or harder to source. For manufacturers that rely on international suppliers, higher costs and delays make it tough to keep production steady. On top of that, businesses themselves are cautious. Companies aren't investing as aggressively in machinery and inventory when they see demand cooling. That creates a feedback loop. Fewer orders, less production, and more caution from suppliers. Now, what does this mean for workers? Manufacturing still employs millions of Americans, and it often provides stable middle-class jobs. When factories contract for months on end, hiring slows. Some plants cut back hours while others delay bringing on new workers. And in industries already running lean, layoffs become a risk. For the broader economy, manufacturing is a bellwether. Historically, long periods of contraction in this sector have preceded slowdowns or recessions. That's because manufacturing connects to so many other parts of the economy, from raw materials and energy to transportation and logistics. When factories pull back, demand for everything from steel to trucking declines too. But there are some nuances worth noting. Not all manufacturing industries are shrinking equally. Aerospace and defense, for example, remain strong thanks to government contracts and global demand. Certain high-tech areas like semiconductor equipment and EV batteries are still attracting investment. The weakness is more concentrated in consumer goods, traditional machinery, and export-heavy industries. So how should businesses respond to this trend? First, manufacturers themselves need to stay flexible. Companies that can adjust production quickly, manage inventory tightly, and diversify suppliers will weather contractions better than those stuck with rigid systems. Second, for businesses outside of manufacturing, pay attention. If you're in logistics, retail, or services tied to industrial clients, a prolonged slowdown in manufacturing may hit your customer base. Preparing early by diversifying revenue streams or controlling costs can help cushion the blow. Third, there's an opportunity side. When manufacturing slows, competition eases for certain inputs and labor. Businesses with strong balance sheets can use this moment to invest in upgrades, acquire struggling competitors, or secure long-term supplier contracts at better terms. What about the policy side? Policymakers face a dilemma. On one hand, tariffs and protectionist measures are designed to strengthen U.S. manufacturing over the long term. On the other, in the short term, they raise costs and disrupt operations. If the contraction continues, pressure will build on Washington to ease some trade restrictions, provide targeted incentives, or increase infrastructure spending to support industrial demand. The longer-term question is whether this contraction signals a structural shift. Is U.S. manufacturing entering a period of sustained weakness, or is this just a cycle tied to temporary factors like tariffs and consumer demand? Some analysts argue that reshoring and government incentives for sectors like clean energy and chips could revive manufacturing in the next few years. Others warn that global fragmentation, high labor costs, and slower productivity growth may limit the rebound. For businesses, the lesson is not to assume manufacturing will bounce back automatically. Planning for a prolonged period of flat or weak growth may be the safer move, while still keeping an eye on sectors that are bucking the trend. The bottom line, 7 straight months of contraction in U.S. manufacturing is more than just a statistic. It's a signal that parts of the economy are under strain, even as other areas look strong. For businesses, this is a time to stay cautious, but also to look for openings. Those who can adapt, invest wisely, and position themselves in growth industries will come out stronger when the cycle eventually turns.